The adventurous song begins by showing a deity who had come to Earth to destroy evil. His mission was to eliminate the violence and discrimination happening among humans by any means. But the problem arises when many of his own companions betray him. The betrayal was so intense that the deity became completely helpless, and his fellow gods killed him to seize power in heaven. When this news spread across heaven, everyone was shocked. In fact, the deity had some sisters who were determined to avenge his death. They first killed the companions who had betrayed their brother. But now, their greatest anger was directed toward humans, whom they blamed for their brother's death. So, all the sisters decided together to bring about a time when humanity would be completely wiped out from Earth. These sisters possessed numerous powerful abilities that existed in heaven. That's why no other gods or even devils dared to mess with them. Now we're introduced to a warrior named Arlin, who had come with his master to confront them. Their mission was to somehow close a portal that the goddesses had opened. They wanted to use this portal to destroy humanity by sending different kinds of creatures through it. If the portals weren't closed, humanity would be doomed. That's why Arlin and his master quickly headed out to try and shut it down. But now, the most dangerous goddess had appeared in front of them. She challenged the two and simply said, "If you want to stay alive, leave now." But Arlin and his master were incredibly agile and accepted the challenge, trying to close the portal. The master even tried to reason with the goddess, saying that this would help no one. He said that humans make mistakes, but it's also their job to fix them. So, they should be given a chance. But the goddess refused to listen and directly attacked Arlin and the master. Arlin, who was the most skilled student of the master, somehow dodged all the attacks. But his main goal was to shut down the blue lightning portal. So, Arlin distracted the dangerous goddess and got close to the portal. Just as he was about to shut it, the goddess saw him and launched a deadly attack using one of her weapons. Poor Arlin was badly injured in the entire process. He couldn't even understand whether he was alive or dead. At one point, Arlin somehow managed to survive using his powers. He created a tornado that completely neutralized the goddess's weight and power. But he had no idea that the goddess was even more powerful than him. Suddenly, a strange-looking stone appeared in front of Arlin. It seemed that touching the stone would shut the portal. But the moment he touched it, a massive explosion occurred. For some time, Arlin remained unconscious. When he finally opened his eyes, he found himself in a completely different place. It was a small village on Earth, where all the residents lived in complete secrecy and silence. As Arlin stepped out, he saw all the villagers gathered in one place. Suddenly, the sky turned pitch black, as if some kind of apocalypse was about to strike. Soon, a girl named Moon appeared. She was extremely beautiful. But then it was revealed that several people wearing black masks had arrived in that area. They had come to take the girl named Moon with them. These black-masked people were actually the agents of that same dangerous goddess. They hunted and killed humans. But Moon, in a noble act, offered herself as a sacrifice to save the lives of all the villagers. She believed that doing so would make the goddess's people spare the others. Just as Moon was about to go with them, her brother arrived at the scene. He couldn't allow his sister to go with them at any cost. He immediately started fighting those black-masked people. But the masked ones were no less powerful. They began gathering all their dark energy and then merged it together. This resulted in the creation of a huge creature made entirely of their internal black energy. That monstrous being began attacking everyone around. Moon's brother, while fighting bravely, was seriously injured. The creature started wreaking havoc all around, killing everyone in its path. In fact, its rage had intensified even more than before. The villagers had no choice but to run for their lives in every direction. Amid this chaos, a young girl fell to the ground, and the creature started advancing toward her, ready to kill. Moon's eyes fell on the little girl, and she simply couldn't let her die like that. Moon instantly ran toward the child and shielded her, trying to protect her from the creature. The creature kept moving toward them. It looked like it was going to kill both the child and Moon. But just at that moment, our hero Arlin made his entrance. Using his powers, Arlin landed a powerful punch on the creature and hurled it away. He jumped directly on top of it, launching a full-force attack. Even though Arlin had no personal connection to any of this, he still wanted to protect humans and fight for their rights. He fought the creature with incredible bravery and ultimately defeated it, forcing the rest of the masked attackers to flee. When Moon realized that Arlin had saved her and the child's life, she gratefully thanked him. She was overjoyed that Arlin had protected both of them. Soon after, the village leader and several people arrived at the scene. The leader warned that because of this attack, the goddess would now send even more people, putting the entire village in danger. As they were discussing the situation, one of the leader's companions noticed a pendant hanging from Arlin's body. Seeing the pendant shocked them, and they immediately brought Arlin to their temple. The symbol on Arlin's pendant represented a divine protector, a god who used to descend to Earth to protect humanity. After seeing this, the leader began to believe that Arlin was their savior. All the villagers thanked Arlin for coming to their aid and saving them. But Arlin revealed the truth to them, that although he was born in heaven, he had lost his immortality due to certain reasons. He had become a demigod, which meant he could die like any human. However, all his powers were still intact within his body. Despite understanding everything, the leader still insisted that Arlin stay and help them fight against the evil goddess. The leader even showed Arlin a photo of the goddess, and the moment Arlin saw it, he recognized her. She was the same evil goddess he had once fought in heaven. This meant the journey ahead was not going to be easy. The goddess's powers were growing stronger, and who knows what deadly strategies she would use next to wipe out humanity. Arlin agreed to help and decided to stay and fight alongside them. But before anything else, Arlin said, "I need to get a weapon that will help us fight against the goddess." This dangerous weapon was known as Slayer, and it could only be found in a very high and remote location. They had to retrieve this weapon at any cost. Hearing this, Moon also agreed to join Arlin on his journey. She had a special ability. By simply looking at someone, she could tell whether there was a devil inside them or not. That meant she could be equally helpful in the fight ahead. Together, they now formed a strong and balanced team. Meanwhile, the evil goddess was watching everything, observing how Arlin was now searching for a dangerous weapon. She was aware of it all, and she was planning her next move accordingly. Inside a dense forest, Arlin and Moon began their journey. Along the way, Moon tried to strike up a conversation with Arlin. But Arlin didn't respond much, he stayed mostly distant. After a while, Arlin started to feel like someone was following them. He immediately stopped Moon and looked around carefully. Without warning, he attacked the top of a nearby tree. It turned out, it wasn't a stranger, it was Moon's brother, Lee. Lee couldn't let his sister go on such a dangerous mission alone. So he had secretly followed them and now joined their team. From that point, Lee stayed with his sister Moon. Arlin accepted his presence, and now the three of them continued their journey together. As night fell, they needed a place to rest. They found a small roadside restaurant ahead and went inside. There were already several people sitting there and eating. The three of them, hungry from the journey, sat down at a nearby table. But right from the beginning, Moon started feeling that something was off about this place. She couldn't explain what it was, but her instincts told her something was wrong. A few moments later, a woman came from upstairs to take their order. She approached them and asked what they would like to eat. But something about the way the woman behaved with Arlin was very strange. She got unusually close and started acting weirdly. Arlin, annoyed and suspicious, pushed her away. He had no interest in such behavior. But after this moment, Arlin himself grew suspicious. He turned to Moon and Lee and explained that something was wrong, that everyone around them in the restaurant was fake. Since they had arrived, everyone around them had been repeating the same actions and lines, over and over. This revealed that the entire place was an illusion, a trap created by demons. When Arlin explained this, Moon immediately began to focus. Using her heightened senses, she soon realized something disturbing. The woman standing in front of them didn't even have a mouth. That confirmed it, she was indeed a demon disguised as a human. Once discovered, the demon began levitating into the air and launched a powerful attack on Arlin using her extra energy. Arlin skillfully dodged her strikes and began counterattacking. The demon woman now started spinning large wooden logs around using her powers, hoping to strike and kill them with sheer force. But Arlin still possessed his divine powers. Using them, he created a protective shield so no one would get hurt. Moon, observing the battle, knew that if the fight continued like this, they would never complete their mission. She sharpened her focus and suddenly noticed a strange needle in the demon's hair. There was something inscribed on the needle, but it was incomplete. Moon found it very odd. She quietly signaled Arlin to distract the demon and keep her engaged. Arlin followed the plan and continued to keep the demon occupied with his attacks. Meanwhile, Moon slipped behind and carefully removed the needle from the demon's hair. She then completed the incomplete word inscribed on it. The moment she did that, something incredible happened. A hidden writer who had been influencing everything disappeared. Everything returned to normal instantly. The demon woman transformed back into a human. It turned out that she had been cursed, and now the curse had finally been broken. She thanked everyone for freeing her. She revealed that a writer, after dying, had wanted to become a god. But instead, he trapped her here in this illusion and imprisoned her under a curse. Thanks to Moon, Arlin, and their companions, she had been freed, and she was deeply grateful. To thank Moon, she gave her a weapon, a token of appreciation and power. A few moments later, the woman disappeared. It was her way of gifting something to Moon, the one who had liberated her. Without wasting any time, Arlin, Moon, and Lee set out on their journey to find the weapon named Slayer. As they traveled, they eventually reached the mountain whose peak was said to hold the weapon. When they entered, they came across a mysterious gate. It wasn't just any gate, it led to another dimension. And standing right in front of it was a demon. This demon was very short in height, and the moment he saw Arlin and his companions, he challenged them. "You must retrieve the sword strapped to my back. If you fail to do so within time, you will all be turned to stone, forever." There were already several statues of people who had tried and failed. So clearly, the demon wasn't lying. The challenge began immediately. Lee, Moon's brother, tried to grab the demon by any means possible. But the demon was incredibly fast. He even managed to injure Lee significantly with his attacks. Arlin couldn't sit still any longer. He drew his weapon and fired directly at the small demon. No matter how fast the demon was, he was no match for Arlin's divine strength. After a series of powerful strikes, the demon became a little disoriented. Arlin then pulled out a long rope, ensnared the demon, and hung him upside down. As a result, the sword that was strapped to the demon's back fell to the ground. They had finally obtained the sword, successfully completing the challenge. A few moments later, a portal appeared nearby. This portal would lead them to the next level, closer to the Slayer weapon. As Arlin, Moon, and Lee were about to step into the portal, the demon suddenly attacked them from behind. To protect Arlin and Moon, Lee grabbed the demon with all his strength. But in doing so, he was caught in the curse. His entire body, along with the demons, turned into stone. Arlin, holding Moon's hand, crossed through to the other side of the portal. After the portal closed, Moon was heartbroken. Her beloved brother had died right before her eyes. To ease her pain, Arlin comforted her, saying, "If we manage to retrieve the weapon Slayer, maybe we can bring your brother back to life." Hearing that, Moon felt a little more hopeful. She wiped her tears and continued the journey with Arlin, now more determined than ever. Once again, Arlin and Moon reached a new place, this time, guarded by a lady demon. The demon told them that in order to proceed further, they had to solve a puzzle. She explained that the challenge was to draw her true face. If they failed to do so, they would be trapped there forever. Moon quickly told Arlin not to attempt the drawing first, because she had the ability to recognize the demon's true face. Moon began concentrating deeply. Eventually, she was able to see the demon's real human face. She immediately drew that human face and handed it to the demon. As soon as the demon looked at the drawing, she realized it was correct. The curse on her was completely broken, and a portal opened up, creating a path forward. Now, as Arlin and Moon progressed through the portal, the entire crystal world around them began to collapse. Huge crystal shards and stones started falling from above. They had to escape as fast as possible, or else they would be crushed beneath the debris. When Arlin crossed to the other side of the portal, he realized he couldn't pull Moon through. It was as if something was holding her back, as if she belonged to that world for some reason. Moon then told Arlin to leave her behind and continue his journey to find the Slayer weapon. She reminded him how important it was, that humanity's survival depended on it. So, with a heavy heart, Arlin left Moon behind and moved toward the final level. There, in front of a large throne, stood a dangerous demon. The demon declared, "If you want the weapon called Slayer of Gods, then you must defeat me in battle." Arlin had no choice but to accept the challenge. What followed was a brutal, deadly fight between Arlin and the demon. Arlin attacked with all his might, using every skill and weapon at his disposal, trying to overpower the demon. The demon dodged his strikes and counterattacked fiercely. At one point, the demon unleashed a wave of electricity all around him, sending powerful shocks in every direction. Arlin was seriously injured by the surge. But he refused to give up. He gathered all the surrounding weapons and launched a massive assault on the demon. Yet, the demon blocked everything with just one hand. Even after taking so much damage, the demon hadn't even flinched. For a moment, Arlin felt he might not be able to defeat this terrifying demon. But then, he remembered everything he had lost to reach this point, his companions, innocent lives, the sacrifices made. If he didn't obtain the Slayer, more people would die. Fueled by determination, Arlin summoned double his power and launched a furious, blazing attack on the demon. The speed and force of his assault were so immense that Arlin finally defeated the demon. As the demon died, its body disintegrated entirely, and a mysterious energy flowed directly into Arlin's weapon. His weapon began to transform, its shape changing before his eyes. Then it was revealed, the Slayer of Gods was never a physical weapon. It was a power that manifests inside a worthy being. Now, that divine power fully resided within Arlin. A few moments later, a portal opened, and Moon appeared through it. Even her brother Lee had returned safely, completely unharmed. Arlin told them everything, that he had defeated the demon and gained the Slayer of God's power. Moon shared that after they had destroyed the crystal demon, she had obtained teleportation powers, allowing her to travel anywhere instantly. The three of them realized they needed to leave immediately, as the entire realm was collapsing around them. Just as they exited, they came face to face with the evil goddess, the one who had been watching them all along. The goddess smiled and mockingly thanked them, saying that they had actually made her work easier. She had wanted to destroy that world, and thanks to them, it was already falling apart. With a smirk, she vanished through a divine portal back to her version of heaven. But Moon, now possessing teleportation powers, instantly followed her through the portal. A massive battle was about to begin between the three heroes, Arlin, Moon, and Lee, and the evil goddess herself. The three launched a combined assault on the goddess. But her powers were limitless. She was dominating the fight completely, barely giving them a chance to attack. It became clear that she was toying with them, not even using her full strength yet. Arlin tried to strike her with the Slayer of God's weapon, but the goddess simply countered the blow and hurled him away with a single strike. Arlin was badly injured, bleeding heavily. The evil goddess was about to strike him down, but just then, Moon stepped in front of him. Using her teleportation powers, she tried to protect him. But the goddess's powers had grown far too strong. Even Moon couldn't hold her back anymore. While trying to shield Arlin, Moon was fatally wounded. She collapsed to the ground, her body broken and bloodied. Arlin rushed to her side and held her in his arms. That's when he realized, he had fallen in love with Moon. But sadly, it was too late. Moon wasn't going to survive. The pain of loss triggered something deep within Arlin. A strange surge of divine energy began to awaken inside him, the very godlike power he had once lost. Before his eyes, his third eye opened, and an immense wave of unlimited power began to flood into his body. Arlin had now fully transformed into a god. He rose confidently and began walking toward the goddess. As she launched a flurry of attacks at him, Arlin dodged them effortlessly. Even the goddess was shocked. She couldn't understand how he was evading her moves so easily. She used her full strength and blasted a massive fire attack toward him. But Arlin, wielding both the Slayer of Gods and his divine abilities, struck back, hitting the goddess hard and delivering devastating blows. He had defeated her. But just when victory seemed near, the goddess's three sisters appeared out of nowhere. The sisters combined their powers and merged into a gigantic demonic entity, a towering structure of darkness and rage. Yet Arlin did not fear them. Activating his third eye, he unleashed a powerful laser beam, so intense that it began to melt the entire monstrous body. The giant demon fell apart, and the three sisters reappeared, weakened. Now it was clear, Arlin was overpowering them completely. Just as he launched a final strike, a protective barrier formed around the sisters. It wasn't their doing, it was created by none other than Arlin's master, who had just arrived. The master gently stepped forward and said, "You must face the punishment for what you've done." He began chanting an ancient mantra, and with its power, he sealed the three sisters into a vessel, a magical prison. The curse would remain until their hearts and minds changed, until they truly repented. The master looked at Arlin, deeply impressed, and congratulated him on returning to godhood. But he reminded him, with great power, comes great responsibility. Arlin understood now, he had a duty to protect humanity, no matter what. He would no longer waste his powers but use them for noble causes. And so, with purpose in his heart, Arlin set off toward the village where Moon belonged, to honor her, and everything she had stood for. He decided that no matter what happens, he would never let danger threaten humanity again. His purpose was now clear, to stand as a guardian against every threat and to keep humanity completely protected. In this way, mankind was blessed with a truly righteous God, one who would always be by their side, watching over them for eternity. And with that, our story comes to an end.